of the ways that we have a better access or a better receptivity to miracle mindfulness is to get out of anything habitual. Just absolutely just let it go. And even though we may be doing the same activity over and over and over, but that we can do it with a new receptivity, that we can do it with a second look, a second glance, an opening and awakening. So it's not that the world is changing, it's that we're changing. The divinity, the power, all of creation happens right here through us. So in this recognizing and transforming habit energies that Thich Nhat Hanh is talking about, we have the opportunity to see things in a new way. We have an opportunity to awaken to the everyday miracles that are always around us. I looked up miracles, and miracles says that they can be defined as supernatural acts that go beyond human possibilities. How do y'all feel about that? I don't think that's the truth. I don't think that's the truth. In the Bible, in Acts 8:13, the statement, miracles cause great amazement. Acts 19:11, miracles are used to describe extraordinary healings. In Corinthians 12:28, miracles are a spiritual gift. God appointed people to work miracles just like He appointed apostles, prophets, and teachers. We are all to desire the higher gifts, such as miracles. The last one's a little bit more interesting. Miracles are a spiritual gift. Just that sentence alone, if we look at that sentence, they're a spiritual gift. So if we're not living our life derived from our spiritual nature, then possibly we might not be capturing the whole, or may not be receptive to the miracles that are happening. So we recognize, we come together in this community to remember the truth of who we are, that we are made in God's image and likeness, that we are the I am of the I am, that we are every moment in partnership with the infinite. And what do you think that means? If we're already in partnership with the infinite, what does that mean in our lives? Yes. Yes. And that we are already set up for success. We already have everything that is required to live joyously, fulfilled, satisfied, gratified, at peace with what's going on in our life. Because we recognize in this moment that if we base our happiness in life on things outside of us, okay, so I'm happy for a minute because I got a new car, or I'm happy for a minute because I got a new job, I'm happy for a minute because I got a hug from that beautiful little girl back there. I can't think of her name. Anne? Oh, make sure you give her a hug before you leave. You know, it's a momentary excitement. But when we realize that possibility and that divine nature of all of life is within and through and around everything, and within us, that we can create from that space, we see everything different. We experience everything different. So we know that our happiness and our joy is indwelling within us, that we have a choice. We have a choice at every moment to say, it's Monday, I'm going to have a yucky day, or we have a choice to say, it's Monday, but I'm going to enjoy it. So the choice is always ours. That's what we call free will. That's what we call free will. So we have this opportunity to to create, either from within each of one of us, the truth, our divine nature, or we can create by what we see in the world. And obviously basing our ideas or our experience of life on what we see in the world, that's the outpicturing of man manifesting in the world. That's not, the God is right here within each one of us. So we're in partnership with this divine, co-creative, infinite possibilities that is within each one of us, and it can't be taken away. It's not we can't unplug and plug from it. We're always tuned in. So you can't stop God. You can't stop your good from manifesting in your life. But the way that you experience that is by making that choice. So when you start out your day, we have to make that choice to say, I choose to be happy. I choose to move and have my beingness happily, joyously, liberated, free from the worldly effects of, the economy's bad, life is tough, there's not enough jobs. I could choose that too. We could choose that too. But there's something about that supernatural that has equipped us, fully equipped us with everything that we require. We can't read that in a book. We can't watch that on TV. It's our communion and union with God, with the infinite, in the silence that allows that to come through.
So, from my own understanding, being spiritually mindful is like you, through yourself and events as they will happen, things happen and they naturally fall in place. So you should just be at peace with it, then, or?
Well, it's knowing that just as the stars, the moon, the sun, this whole universe is orchestrated in some divine synchronistic action that's always taking place. We don't need to turn on the light bulb to have the sun shine its brightness. So we're recognizing that there is a harmony, that there is perfection, that there is wholeness in, back, and through everything. So that's the foundation of it. That's the foundation of it. But the one thing that I don't think we're taught is that we're fully equipped. That we're fully equipped. There's nothing that we cannot do, be, or have. We are already a success. And when we derive our beingness from that truth, our path is completely illuminated. So it's constantly redirecting our beliefs and our thoughts and our mind. We get to ask ourselves, as I'm driving here today, it's going to be 2 to 4 inches of snow. Am I driving here going, nobody's going to show up today, I should just cancel, right? Or have the opportunity to say, we're going to be packed. The roads are going to be fine. I don't listen to the weather, man. So we have a choice about what are we affirming in our life? How are we using our capacity to think? We all have this inherent thing which we do that says we're not good enough. We're not smart enough. We're not capable. We're not lovable. We all have that. Stop it right now. That was what Adironda said in the challenge. Stop that right now. It's like when we think negatively about ourselves, we're shutting the door on our good. We've just closed ourselves off. Now, our mind is like a little puppy dog that needs to be continuously trained. So it's like the practice of anything to say, okay, I thought that, but I don't have to believe it, and I don't have to keep it. So you just allow the thought to move right through you. And then incorporate the truth that we are made in God's image and likeness. We are here to live in joy. And if you're doing anything other than that, take some time in silence and think about what it is you want to create in your life. Because it's not that it's removed. It's not that you can't have it. It's not that There's not enough, whatever it is, there's nothing that you are separate from. So we have the opportunity, as Thich Nhat Hanh said, we have the opportunity to transform this habitual negative thinking in turning away from that which doesn't serve us and tune into the prosperity, the abundance, the wisdom, the clarity, the flow, the divine flow that's always been there. It's never stopping. Just as the sun and the moon and everything rotates around, it doesn't stop. So it's always active, and it's just remembering and experiencing that fullness in every moment of our life. Ernest Holmes, this is a quote from Essential Ernest Holmes class. What is known at one point is known everywhere. So there's nothing hidden from us. There's nothing kept from us. All the wisdom in the world is right here. Are we speaking to it? Are we talking to it? Are we communing with God that is within us? Ernest says that the ultimate cause in back of everything can only be one. There's only one source of life, since life cannot be divided against itself. The infinite must be one. Therefore, there cannot be two infinite beings. Whatever change takes place must take place in an infinite field of oneness. The Word of God means the power of Spirit to declare itself into manifestation and into form. And how does that happen? Through us, through each one of us. That this living God is right here desiring to express. So what brings you joy? What brings you happiness? What brings you lightheartedness? Do it, and do it, and do it, and do it, and do it. Claim it and be that. And then obviously in the moment that we incorporate that truth and that joy within our life, then that becomes the substance and the foundation for which everything is derived. Because we've allowed it to be. We've allowed that to have the predominance, the dominance in our life, as we each are divinely directors of it. So as we deepen our experience, we take time to contemplate that truth, to recognize that there's nothing we can't do, be, or have. And when we experience that truth, those miracles that seem supernatural become everyday occurrences. Because we've planted that seed. We've planted that seed in our life to say, what was the definition of miracles? Can be defined as supernatural acts that are beyond human possibilities. No, nada. Not the truth, not the truth. There are things that happen that are beyond our explanation. Of course. We can only know what we know when we know it, right? But it is living from that receptivity and that consciousness to know that predominantly we derive our life from this idea. It seems to be really common. We have this relationship with God, right? And they told us about God when we were kids. And predominantly in this part of the world, we were taught that God is the ultimate power of everything, and that we were sinners, and that we were damned, and that we're going to be judged, and we need to be repentive to when we make mistakes or when we sin. So there's one type of relationship that we have with God that we've been taught. And then the other type of relationship that we could have or open to is the fact that God is good, that God is love, that God is unconditional, that God is peace, prosperity, and everything good. So we have two choices to make. And most often, if people have the experience that they're judged and damned and afraid, fearful of this deity, then they experience that as the primary thing in their life. And when we understand or awaken to the concept that God is good, that the Spirit in back of all things, the spiritual law, loves us so much that it always says yes. It always says yes. How could that be unloving? If it always says yes. It is done unto you as you believe. What do you believe? If I think I can, I can. If I think I can't, I can't. And guess what? I'm always right. Well, okay. To be gifted, to be so gifted with life in its fullness, in its infinite capacity that we've been given. We have an opportunity to play with that like Play-Doh and tweak it and create it and color it and paint on that canvas of life, knowing that we are free and unlimited in doing that. Or we can do it like, I'm going to sneak over here and just do a brush stroke and, sometimes in our humanness, we fear the mystery, right? We fear the mystery. So as we awaken to these miracles that are happening infinitely all the time, but we don't know what they're going to bring. We might not be sure. Because we have a mind and we want to know when it's going to happen, how it's going to happen, what it's going to look like, what it's going to feel like. But we don't always have that. So there's a trust walk that we do throughout this process. That's where we get fearful. That's where sometimes we may be fearful as to, oh boy, I just got the job of my life. But oh my God, can I do it? Am I going to perform? Am I able? So it's walking that walk into a new creation that is expressing through our life that we don't know what it's going to look like or what it's going to be like, but it's trusting that in the back of everything that's happening, it's good. Why? Because it's God, and God is the source, whatever you want to call it. You don't even have to call it God. You can call it whatever it is to you. That the source within, that it was brought into your life for goodness. So in the spiritual perspective, life is always moving forward, right? It's non-stopping. I think we've all caught that. We've caught that element of it. So we can't help but recognizing the same way that life is constantly moving, we are constantly moving, changing, growing, expanding with this thing called life. And we each are an embodiment of God in as such as we allow the divine to move through us. If I base my experience of life on the balance of my checking account, on the happiness of my boss, on the receptivity of my husband, if I base my happiness on things and people and events that are outside of me, my happiness is going to be pretty fleeting. It's not going to be consistent. It's going to be, oh, I'm so happy because. Right? We get into the receptivity of miracle mindfulness when we say, I am so happy. And there is no but. There is no because. Just, I am so happy. I am so happy. Because in the idea that happiness is outside of us, ourselves, we're waiting for something to happen. So we continually put ourselves in that, I want, I need, I'm waiting. Ugh, that is no fun. Are you with me on that? That does not work, and it's tiring, and we tend to have the capacity to suffer with that. Like, waiting, patience, But when we come into the truth and own our joy right here, right now, because of no other reason than we have the opportunity to do that, we have the power to do that, all of a sudden everything opens up. And we see and experience this thing called life from a different place, with different possibility. And most often, the divine ideas that come through will captivate us. It will stop us in our tracks and say, I need your paper and pen, and I need you to go sit in the corner for a while because we're going to talk. Rather than it being, rather than we're having our life trying to put fires out. Oh, I did my work today, I got that fire put out. Or I did my laundry today, I got that put out. And I did this, but it's the internal wisdom within that brought us right here, right now, to see and experience and bring forth this invisible source, energy, the thing that we call God. How do we bring that forth? How do we bring that forth within our life? We talk to it. If we're not receptive and communing and uning with that infinite presence, well, then what do you expect? We're just living an ordinary life. Because we're basing it on our job, our husband, our children, our conditions of the world. When we turn all of our thoughts to God, there was a quote that I used in a talk. I can't think of who it was by, but it was when we turn all of our thoughts onto God, or to God, the thing happens. All of a sudden we go from living an individual, separate experience of life based on wants and needs and desires, and we get to experience them inconsistently here and there, maybe once in a while. When we can turn on that funnel and tune into that spiritual essence that supports us, guides us, directs us with every need, we are fully equipped. But we've got to allow that spirit to come first in our life. I'd like to say that there's another way to do it, but there's not. There's not. I've tried it. I've tried it. And when my spiritual practices are not the way that I've designed them to be, and I fall short sometimes, and I'll make up for it. I don't want to say that I'll make up for it, but sometimes life does get in the way. Meetings happen, things happen, whatever it may be. If I'm in a meeting, I'll go in the bathroom and pray. If I'm in my car is my favorite place to pray. But the thing of it is that when I derive all of my thoughts on this infinite, eternal, indwelling, and I recognize that it is working through me, my whole life changes, my whole day, and hour by hour, minute by minute. I'm joy because I choose to be joy. I'm happy because I choose to be happy. I'm abundant because I know that this invisible source loves all of us so much that brought us right here to this moment. Oh, now, we're not here to suffer. That suffering stuff is that old deity, that old belief, that old paradigm of what we were taught. But that's not what we're here for. So we recognize that if we hold the truth outside of us, it's outside of us. If we recognize that we are not separate from God, this is a quote from Spiritual Economics, Eric Butterworth. God can do no more for you than God can do through you. That's it, finito. I mean, there's a simplicity. Humans, we tend to make this complicated, and we tend to make it outside of ourselves. And when we take that idea of separation out of the picture, that we are not separate, that we are one people, one human family, one God, intertwined, intertwangled, that's my word, intertwangled and interconnected, we realize that we are a brother's keeper, and that your dream is my dream and my dream is your dream. And that when one person is lifted, when one person experiences their life in this miracle mindfulness that has always been there, always present, every moment, and now we're awakened to it, and we get to witness that beauty through and as each other's lives, we become fully charged with that God particle, and it radiates to everyone we come into contact with. In the same way that if we go to the water cooler at work and people are standing there and they're doing the "oh, ain't it awful" thing, oh, ain't it awful of the economy, or ain't it awful about this situation or that situation, it radiates out to everyone they come into contact with. It it affects the energy, it affects but we're always in that receptive, receiving. It's just how we use it. How are we using it? So we have the opportunity at every moment to claim and declare and know that each of us, each of you, is a vessel of infinite potentiality. And as I had mentioned before, what we really fear is the mystery of it, because we want to know. I want that fast forward button, and I want to know what's at the end. So we want to lift ourselves beyond the confines of our poverty thinking and allow this immutable spiritual law of good of God to flow through us so that it will manifest within our lives. So we have an opportunity to be open, to be receptive, and say yes to the mystery, knowing that God is good. God is not here to punish, to damn, to hold back, to withhold, to say no to anything. God says yes. Spirit says yes. The universal divine order of all life always says yes, every time without fail. And as we play with that, as we create with that, as we build our faith and our trust in that, it will show up more and more and more by our conviction of that very thing. Because if we don't believe it, well, then it ain't happening. If we don't believe that's true, then we might have a slower demonstration. It might never demonstrate. It's based upon the conviction of our belief. So we have the opportunity to let go of all these old beliefs, these habitual patterns that we do as humans, and look around. Just look around. Look around at the people that are here today. Look at your neighbor. Look at the people behind you, and know that they are God. Know that you are looking at the very hands and creation and eyes of God. And that perfection of God is so abundant in this room. Right here. We don't have to go anywhere to find it. It's right here. So we have the opportunity to let go of the excuses, to let go of the human conditions, and jump forth and step into the divine infinite potentiality that's always been there, and see that it is perfection. Oh, thank you. Each of us is fully capable to create a life that we desire, Knowing that in every moment, if we are seeding our life from the divine nature and truth that is the truth of us, we are blooming the most glorious rose has ever been possible. We're blooming, we're birthing, we are courting the divine, not willing in manipulating life to happen for us. Because you'll feel the difference. If you're willing and you're manipulating life to happen because I want this job and I want it this hours and I want it to be this drive and no. We've mapped all out what we want. If that's not in our course of action, it will drain our energy. You'll feel the difference in your life, whether or not you're moving in a place of feeling good and joyous, or if you're moving in a place that that might not be for you. Sometimes it takes clarity to bring forth, to sit in silence and bring forth that clarity. Because we know that there's nothing here that we don't know. There's nothing within us that doesn't know the truth. Just are we living from it? Are we sourcing our life from that divinity that we were innately, inherently, abundantly gifted with? And what a waste it is if we're not living at that full capacity, if we're not recognizing our own divinity and living from that space. My goodness, what happens when you turn the light on? You know, like the light where it goes, it's the dimmer light. It's going to get so bright and so full and so joyous. So we have the opportunity to see the perfection of God within all, and that we have full capacity to create a life that you desire, and go beyond what we've ever gone beyond before. When we experience our lives from the should have, the could have, that was my dream when I was a child, I'm too old for that, I don't have enough money for school, we are subscribing. We've just placed our subscription to the magazine of lack, limitation, and separation. So it's knowing that God is the all-powerful, all-knowing, that is within us, and that there is a place within each of our souls that longs for that recognition, it longs for that communion and union to creatively express through us. So if you feel a little impatient, ask God, what did I didn't hear? What did I, speak to me, talk to me. If we're feeling impatient, it's funny how sometimes I can feel that throughout my day, and then I'll go and write. And then when I write, it's expressed. So it's that expression, wanting to express. And when your tank is full up, when your soul is full up and ready to express, if you're not expressing, it's going to get your attention. To say, sit down and be with me, sit down and write, sit down and paint, sit down and draw, sit down and maybe it's just sit. But that creative expression will get your attention. It will get your attention. This is a quote from, I can't even say this name, Rabindranath Tagore. Silence my soul, the trees are prayers. I asked the tree, tell me about God, and then the tree blossomed. So it is within our capacity to re-enter the state of innocence and reclaim your divinity, our divinity. We do that together. We do that as community. We remind each other the truth of who we are through prayer, through classes, through phone calls, whatever it is. We remind each other. And believe me, we all have moments that we forget the truth of who we are. Don't leave here without a phone number or email, and connect with somebody who can support and know the truth for you. I need reminders. We all need reminders. We're human. It's just part of it. But it's also part of that interconnectedness. that we do this together. We don't do this alone. We're not separate. It looks like we're having an individual walk of life. It's in oneness. We're unified. We do this together. I know that we individually, we look different. We have different shapes. We have different sizes. It's all expressions of the one. It's all expressions of God. So at every moment we have the opportunity to see the world from this place of miracle mindfulness, and open and become receptive to the inner divinity and the natural essence. And suddenly when we do that, we're not fighting upstream. We're not fighting upstream. We're not fighting with life. We're sitting back in the flow, going, oh my gosh. And every day it's like, oh my gosh, this happened, that happened. The flow comes to us. We're not, we're not a fisherman trying to bait something to happen in our life. We're declaring and affirming the truth. And as we declare and affirm the truth about us, and for each other, it shows up. That's it. Miracle mindfulness. That's it. Everything falls into place in that flow. Everything, it's that flow that comes to us and supports us invisibly. Recognizing that in moments when we think nothing is happening, I promise you, in the moment that you think nothing is happening, everything is happening. Know that for yourself. I'm not a patient person. And that's what helps me through my patience, is to know that when it looks like nothing is happening, everything is happening. I promise. I know it. And then suddenly it's in that receptivity, it's in that divine connection that our hearts open, that the doors of our lives become unlocked, and we are unleashed to the divine nature and awakened to the miracles that are happening around us every moment. And we have to love ourselves, through that process, and be patient with ourselves to say, what? Love comes from love. So if we have a mental attitude where we're not loving and embracing ourselves with positive, affirmative thoughts, then we need to do that. Because that will limit our receptivity to miracle mindfulness. If I'm speaking negatively, if I'm having negative conversations with myself in my mind. But by allowing ourselves, first through self-love and talk, to nurture ourselves, we allow our cup of love to overflow. And then it automatically spills out to everyone else. Because we meet each other with oneness, with love, with infinite, eternal, unconditional, pure love. But we've got to meet ourselves there with it first. We've got to meet ourselves there with it first. It's interesting. Oneness, unity. Deuteronomy 2:7. For the Lord your God has blessed you in all the work of your hand. He knows you're trudging through the great wilderness. Therefore, these 40 years, the Lord your God has been with you, and you have lacked nothing. I love that. You lack nothing. We lack nothing. We talk about Easter, the resurrection. The first step towards resurrection is receiving new ideas from the mind of God. We are the ones who resurrect ourselves by changing our thoughts. We can change our life. So the resurrection that was told to us long ago, that we need to, asked to be saved. We are our own salvation. So the resurrection is letting go of those old beliefs and old habits and old thoughts and incorporating and allowing this newness to express through us. Allowing God, the divine mind, the divine ideas, to have its way with us. For us to surrender and let go enough to have that white canvas in our life and say, okay, Spirit, you paint it. I'll be it. I say yes. To allow that will, that divine mind, that divine seed to work through us. Because if we paint every little picture of what we want, how we want it, what time, what it looks like, we're limiting the capacity of which God can express in that situation, because we've already painted a box of what we want. Not to say that there's anything bad about that, but we can say, and that and something better. So that we're not limiting this divine capacity to move through our life. Cheryl's giving me that, what time is it? That's what I took that as. I know she didn't mean it as that, but that was what I heard. Okay, yeah, we're right on time. Thank you for that, because that's right where I thought I was. I know, you're laughing. So the first step towards miracle mindfulness and resurrection is to commune in union with the mind of God and allow these divine ideas to come through us and see God in everything, see the Spirit, see the divinity in you, within you. Look in the mirror every day and love yourself more than you can stand it. How many times do we do that?
Every day.
I know that you do. I know that you do, and I know that I'm learning to get better at that, but I really do. I invite you guys for the next week. Think about that resurrection, this Easter thing that's happening, and bring forth the beauty and the love and the truth that you are, and look at yourself in the mirror, eye to eye, every day for at least 5 minutes, and love yourself. The love that you allow and that you recognize and that you realize and that you say yes to, it will mirror back to you in your life. It will mirror back to you in your life, but we've got to do it with ourselves first. So I'm going to close with the most beautiful treatment that I think I have ever read by Ernest Holmes. So this is not only a closing. This is not only a closing, but it's also a treatment. But I'm going to read this first. And I can't read this without crying. I never can. But I'm going to. Cheryl said, here we go. So here we go. Is anybody familiar with Our Deepest Fear by Marianne Williamson? Let's just take a moment to listen. To listen in this silence. Recognizing the divine orchestration of this message, Miracle Mindfulness. So Our Deepest Fear by Marianne Williamson. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I? Who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It is not in just some of us, it is in every one of us. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. Whew, and so it is. So I'm going to finish out with, thank you, Cheryl. Thank you, thank you, thank you. With this treatment. Treatment is also another thing that we call prayer, because we're not changing God's mind when we pray, we're changing our mind. And religious science calls that treatment. And for any practitioners in the room, our saying is treat and move your feet. And what a treat it is to know the truth. What a treat it is to live your life with ice cream cones in both hands. Right? We're not going to miss our good when we've got an ice cream cone of God in both of our hands. And every time that we have a thought that's not of God, that we treat and we move our feet. Now you can do that another way. You can just say an affirmation. A simple affirmation that starts with, the easiest way to figure out an affirmation is it's going to start with I am. I am love. I am peace. I am prosperity. I am the I am of the I am. Sit with that. Add that into your mirror exercise this week when you love yourself up for at least 5 minutes a day. I promise, you will be amazed at what comes through your life when you love yourself in a deeper capacity. Okay, I'm going to hush.